Rodney, I hope you're having a great Friday afternoon. Welcome into the game in T-Town. How's the Friday afternoon going? Are you getting ready for Bryant-Denny Stadium?
Well, I will be, certainly. I look forward to, A-Day, and I certainly hope that there's a big crowd, Ryan. I've kind of said this on various radio shows. I said this on Tider Insider TV that, hopefully that Alabama fans appreciate still what we have here, with the program that we have with Nick Saban and, the tradition that was set in 2007 with that incredible turnout that filled Bryant-Denny Stadium, and there were probably, 10,000 outside. And you know what? I think that Alabama fans should really kind of rally for this A-Day game as well. I mean, you're coming off of the worst loss since Nick Saban's been here, but you know what? I think it's a time for the fans to really rally behind the program and show the support and, hopefully get back on the track that Alabama, certainly is accustomed to being on.
Well, no, I think 100%. I think it would probably send another message, loud and clear.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think, I don't know if people really understand the importance, and I've heard Nick Saban talk about this multiple times, but let me go back to 2007. The message that Alabama fans sent with that crowd. And I know Nick Saban has talked about it being the catalyst. You can always look at the 2008 recruiting class. There's probably no better person that we could talk to than you about the 2008 recruiting class. But that spring attendance game that sort of set the standard allowed it to be a catalyst for that recruiting class that kind of helped establish that Alabama was back and that they were serious about getting the football program back to where it belonged.
Well, first of all, I just think that day sent kind of shockwaves across college football because nobody in college football had ever seen anything like that. You're talking about 92,000+ people filling a stadium for a spring game. And I think that sent a message to a lot of people across the country that this was getting ready to be something special here. And certainly as you talk, Brian, about recruiting, it sent that same message to prospects. And of course it was a great year in the state, so they certainly saw all the coverage here in the state of Alabama, but also around the country. So I think that this is a valuable tool for Alabama to showcase, the program and like I said, hopefully the fans, and especially, you got a lot of local fans that access is easy. It doesn't take long to get to the stadium. And if you have some time, I'd get over there, fill the stadium up.
Rodney, biggest question that you traveled into the spring season, when we go back to that Friday prior to spring break, do you feel like that question, whatever it was, the number one question that you had around this football team, do you feel like that they've got an answer in the first 14 practices? One more practice to go. Do you feel like some of those questions, maybe the number one question, has been answered?
Ryan, I'm not sure that my number one question necessarily, if this is okay, I'm not sure that it was actually what's on the field. After that game against Clemson, what is the mindset of this program? I mean, did Clemson steal something? Did they steal some mojo? Did they just take it away from this program a little bit? I think that's something that, as I kind of get a sense from how spring practice is going, how the vibes you get from Nick Saban and his comments, I think that I'm getting the feeling that Alabama is gearing up, if you will, to really, I don't want to say necessarily make another run, put it like that, but I think they're ready to take back what was taken from them back in Santa Clara. I'm getting that sense. I like the vibes I'm getting. It's been extremely quiet, as you know. Not a lot of stuff coming out of that building. Over the last several spring practices, you would hear a lot of stuff, what was going on. But this has been a very, very quiet spring in that regard, nothing leaking out. And that's probably a good sign. I think the vibes I'm picking up are really good right now.
Well, as you mentioned, not a lot of it seems to be on lockdown over there. It's kind of funny, and I'm not sure exactly if take that a good way, but it seems like there's a different level of focus. Maybe I could add that word to the conversation.
Different level, that's probably one way to put it. I would maybe say a just a different focus. Because we all know how focused Nick Saban is.
Sure.
I'm not real sure how much more focused a person could be, but I think it's a different focus, Ryan, because what we experienced there in January has never happened. Not in his tenure, not here, and that's a different deal. And listen, I give Clemson all the credit. Certainly, they took advantage of their opportunities there and played a great game. But at the same time, and I know Dabo's kind of had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about when people say that something was more. It was more about Alabama, and I do believe that. I don't think this Alabama team was prepared to play in that game as we've seen some of the Alabama teams in the past.
Rodney, let me ask you, as far as the biggest storyline in this spring, I'd have to go to a guy like DJ Dale. I mean, is that not maybe one of the biggest positives coming out of this practice? I mean, there's certainly quite a few, but I think that may be one of the biggest one. Maybe it didn't catch you by surprise the way that you cover recruiting and you see these players developing and you kind of have a guess of when they're going to make their impact. But it seems like maybe DJ Dale has been a big conversation piece here in Tuscaloosa.
Yes. That's a concern. I say concern, a little bit of a question mark was the depth up front defensively. And you knew that the freshmen would have an opportunity. You had three that came in early: DJ Dale, Antonio Alfano, who was the number one recruit in the country, and then Justin Aboibe. And I think that Aboibe and DJ Dale have really done well this spring. And not that Alfano hasn't; he tore it up in the off-season program. But I think he, was set back with a little bit of an injury and making some adjustments. And I think he's going to be just fine. So don't want to suggest anything's wrong there, but those three guys going to have an opportunity to really contribute next fall. But the good news is, and we said this on your show once before, Alabama's got three more coming in on the defensive line that are going to have great opportunities to make early contributions. Then, they got guys at other positions, an inside backer, an outside backer, and then several guys in the secondary. So I feel really good about this Alabama defense in terms of the young talent up front, and the talent in the secondary. The question I have is, maybe if you want to go back to the on-the-field number one issue that you mentioned earlier, I would say the inside backer position, because you've got Dylan Moses and really nobody else with much experience. That's the big question. What you need at least another guy or two that's going to step up and somebody you can depend on that's going to be able to play that other backer position. Build a little depth there with some quality. And right now, I'm not sure they're at that point. And so that's the big question on that side of the ball.
Well, what do you expect from Josh McMillan? Because, I mean, maybe the lights do come on for him, and that he takes over that second inside backer spot.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, I think that Josh McMillan is, like Coach Saban said, he's been a good program guy for them, and, meaning that he's done everything for the team, and he's a real team guy, and, he's been a solid player when he's had his opportunities. Again, like you said, I can't predict if he can take the next step and become that guy. I just don't know that. But I do think they have some young players that I feel confident have the ability to do it, the potential to do it, whether we're talking about, Ali Cajo, Shane Lee, Markel Benton, maybe Christian Harris coming in, who is, to me, was the most athletic linebacker I think I saw last year in the high school ranks. Can he catch on quickly enough when he gets here in May or June? We'll see. But somebody's got to do it. Somebody has to come in and take the step.
We're talking to Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. Rodney, let me also go to the offensive line. And when we look at this offensive line, and I was asked this question earlier today in Atlanta, it said, is this offensive line? Because going in, we were talking to Ross Piercebaker about this yesterday on the program. Chris Owens has given this team some options with his play. And I know Nick Saban talked about Chris Owens last night, providing an updated center, but I think with his play has given some flexibility to that offensive line. I think they're further ahead than maybe what I anticipated coming out of the spring.
No, I agree with you, Ryan. I think so too. And, we commented very early on in spring practice on TiderandSutter.com and our practice reports and all of those things that Chris Owens looked better physically than I think I've seen him since he's been here as a redshirt junior. Starting to really mature now. The question was, could he stand up, make the line calls and all that? Not that, again, you have that question about anybody taking on that position. Can they do that? Can they handle all the roles that you have to handle in that position? And, when you listen to Nick Saban last night, and I'm sure you probably have the audio there where he's talking about Chris Owens, I mean, it was clear that he's pretty pleased with where Chris Owens is right now. And that is big because if he can handle that spot, he brings a lot of power. I think that's something they need at that position and on the other interior positions at the guards. So I think that's big. And you've got Emil Ekiyor, who's a young player who brings that power too. He can play center, but he can also play guard. You've got Evan Neal, the true freshman, who is, I think he's going to be a fantastic player, probably start out at guard. He's been at left guard and then move eventually left tackle probably next year. You've got Matt Womack's back. You've got Deontay Brown that will eventually be back after his suspension. So I think those interior spots are really looking good. I think they feel confident right now because Alex Leatherwood, as Coach Saban even said earlier in the year, earlier in the spring, he kind of sacrificed for the team and played guard, but he's standing out at left tackle now, which seems to be more of his natural position. Jedrick Wills, as you know, was fantastic at right tackle last year. So I think that offensive line has a chance to really, really be good next year.
Rodney, defensive backs, a lot of depth there. And when you start looking at these defensive backs and you feel like that maybe by October or maybe even earlier than that, was this schedule continues to develop, that may become a very big strength for Alabama, that the defensive back group. It's very talented and deep.
Really could be. I mean, it's almost getting to where, how are you going to fit them all in? You've got guys like Shy Carter, who's been around, has been injured this spring, but he plays the star position, can play safety back there with Xavier McKinney. You look at the corners, you've got Trevon Diggs coming back. We know he's very talented, very good. Patrick Surtain from last year, a fantastic freshman. Josh Jobe, who we've always been high on. We saw him in the championship game come off the bench and was really aggressive, played very well, I thought. So you've got a lot of really young players there. Daniel Wright's back at that safety spot. Jalen Armour-Davis is back. He had a red shirt last year after an injury, but he had done well before that. So, Ryan, and I'm forgetting somebody off the top of my head, but you get the drift. There's a lot of talent back there in that secondary, and you've got another guy a true freshman who's turned some heads at times this spring. Jeffrey Carter out of Texas plays corner. You've got some more guys coming in that I think are really good. I'm really excited, like guys like Brandon Turnage, DeMarco Helms, Jordan Battle, Marcus Banks. Those are four names right there that are very talented freshmen that are coming in. So I feel really good about the depth and the talent that they have back there in the secondary.
All right, so if I go to TiderInsider.com and I click on the forums, what's the most anticipated position that those guys are talking about? If I go to the forums right now and I log in here on my computer at the office and I go to the forum, what's the most anticipated? Is it kicker? Is it punter? Is it backup quarterback? Is it middle linebacker? What are those guys talking about right now on the forums?
Yeah, they're talking about all of those things and tight end as well.
Tight end, sure.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, if Cedric James can get everything together, he's a freak athlete. I'm just telling you, number 44, listen for the name. He's got to serve that suspension. Ryan, I think one area of interest, believe it or not, that people are really talking a lot about is the backup quarterback. I mean, it's an area of interest because I think their mindset is this. Okay, you've got Tua. Most people expect that he'll be gone after next season to the NFL. And then where's the future? Who is the future? And I think you have to start, obviously, looking at that. Can Mac Jones be that guy? He's getting his opportunity to develop. And, right now he's the number 2 guy. Or will it be one of the younger players? Will it be Tua Tagovailoa? Will it be Paul Tyson? Both those guys certainly have a lot of potential. So I think that's something that the fans are really looking forward to seeing tomorrow is these young quarterbacks and how they play.
Well, and not that the backup quarterback position will be decided tomorrow, but you could almost anticipate it the first guy that gets those reps when you now not that Mac Jones is probably going to be the second string quarterback, but that next guy, whoever they trust to be that backup quarterback, let's say October, when you get to that point or wherever you're beginning to kind of take shape with what next spring is going to look like. I mean, we only get a 1-year break on this quarterback conversation because next spring we'll be talking about all the different quarterback competitions and all those different things. So you kind of look for who's going to take the bull by the horns at that second spot. I mean, it's a very important spot and kind of gets the reps and kind of leads the team throughout the offseason for the backup role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and who knows how it all unfolds. I mean, you look at it right now. If you started breaking them down, and you looked at the two freshmen. I mean, obviously Talia is extremely talented. And Paul Tyson, he's got a ton of talent. I mean, he's extremely bright on the chalkboard. Can really has a nice touch on the ball. Got great size. Everybody develops at a different rate, and you see him, and you see how much growth he's got in him. Physically, and he's going to be a real interesting guy to watch because I guarantee you this, there probably won't be anybody over there that's going to have a better work ethic than he is, a very bright guy. So all of those guys, I think, are going to be a lot of fun to watch them develop over the next couple of years.
Rodney, how big is this recruiting weekend?
Well, it's great. It's big. They've got a lot of guys coming in. I think they've got at least 3 5-star players coming in this weekend. Again, that's at least. I'm not sure. Sometimes guys slip in unexpectedly, or sometimes guys don't show up that you thought would show up. But it's big because, and that's one reason why I was also mentioning the A-Day crowd earlier, because it's a valuable tool. I mean, it gives these kids an opportunity to come in here and kind of get a feel for the electricity and the energy that you have in the program. And to me, especially coming off what happened in January, I hate to keep referring back to that, but you don't want a dead crowd. You want a lively crowd that's energetic and enthusiastic, and I think it certainly helps when you're talking about recruiting.
It is Rodney Orr's TiderInsider.com, your source for Crimson Tide news and views, whether we're talking about exchange information on the forums, the coverage as Alabama previews A-Day going into Bryant-Denny Stadium, Nick Saban, all the different comments, all the different interaction, TITV with Gary Harris, WVUA 23 here locally and throughout the statewide on the satellite channels as well. It's 6:30, 10:30 on the replay. Rodney, thanks for making time for us this afternoon. I appreciate it, and I'll see you inside Bryant-Denny Stadium tomorrow. Thank you for your time.
Look forward to it, Ryan. Take care.